Richard Todd. Dad, I'll let you bring Richard into the show.
Well, I'm happy to have Richard on. He's been a friend Richard doesn't know this, but he's living about 8 blocks from where I'm going to be buried.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to be buried on Tennessee Street.
Wow, Richard, did you?
And so.
No, I didn't know. Wimp, quit talking like that.
Wow.
Well, I'm getting to that age where I think about it a lot, Richard, but it's okay. And I appreciate you taking time to be on. You're a great quarterback, and I've always had so much respect for you because
yes, sir.
You went through tough times, and in my coaching career, I went through tough times. Everybody goes through tough times, but you held up well through it. I guess the first question would be that Alabama is not a lot like Auburn. Auburn knows through all this lull that we're having who the quarterback's going to be. They're not worried. But they got the quarterback in there, the new offensive coordinator, and they're doing different things. Alabama's probably going to start with Jonesy as a quarterback, but they've got a guy that came in from California who I know they said in the recruiting, if you play well enough, we'll start you, probably. And then they've got Coach Bryant's grandson, who's very good, and they got Tua's brother. That's a little bit. It's quite a unique situation, and it's very difficult to determine and keep those 4 quarterbacks happy.
It's about impossible nowadays to do that. It just, this new kid I've heard has got a lot of talent and everything else, but it takes a while to learn the system. I don't know if he came in during the during January or not, if he's there already.
He did.
They're not going to have.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like they're going to have a spring practice. So I mean, it's going to be tough for any freshman to come in there and try to learn this system without. The spring would have helped him out a lot if he was. Maybe they'll still have it. I don't know. They're probably waiting for another month or so. But these are peculiar times right now. But it's it just seems like with all this star system and guys are 5 stars, they all think they're going to be all pros and all Americans in college, and these quarterbacks, they move around all the time now, which I guess is good for them. But it seems like if they don't get immediate success, they just take off and go somewhere else. That's kind of
Richard, have offenses changed a great? I know they've changed some, but I don't know a lot about it. But have offenses changed a great deal since you played?
Oh my gosh, we ran the wishbone. We played like 3 quarterbacks a game.
Yeah.
And you're just a running back, but no, offenses have changed so much. These kids are so much more prepared now. They have these camps. We never had camps when I came up. You never knew who your competition was. You never saw, as far as around the state and the South, of who the top quarterbacks were. Now they all have these camps, and these guys get the offenses and the coaches and everybody else are just so much more advanced than they were, back when I was. It's just a lot of spread offense and get that, that Wesley Walker or Bruce Harper like we had with the Jets one-on-one with somebody outside, and it's just try to get that matchup all day and go to it. But, no, it's a lot. Offenses have changed a lot. It's a lot more advanced. The defenses have gotten better with nickels and nickel defense, and you got somebody like Coach Saban that, they can play man underneath and zone in the back, and the quarterback, you can't. It's really hard to read that stuff. So, there's a lot has changed.
We're talking with Richard Todd. Richard, talk about playing for Coach Bryant. Maybe the lessons that you learned, maybe going through it, maybe you didn't understand. It was difficult as you got later in life. You look back and appreciated some of the things that he did for you that you didn't understand maybe as an 18, 19, 20-year-old. Just talk about your experiences with Coach Bryant.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Back then, you're playing, and you don't really think it's a big deal, and then you get, my age at 66, and you start thinking about that when you're working about really what a pleasure and what a great deal it was to play for Coach Bryant. I mean, he was, I look at other teams, and I think they had about as much talent as we did, a lot of them, but Coach Bryant could just get the best out of the players, and he's a great coach, and you look back at it and you think, in fact, that's the reason I went to Alabama to play for Coach Bryant. I actually told Coach Jordan I was going to Auburn. That's when they had Pat Sullivan, and they were wide open and throwing, and Alabama was running the wishbone, and I didn't know how I'd fit into that, and then it just came to a point where I wanted to play for Coach Bryant. That's why I went to Alabama.
Yep, that
Offensive coordinator wasn't Ken Meyer, was it?
Excuse me?
Was your offensive coordinator Ken Meyer? Wasn't Ken Meyer, was it? Who was your offensive coordinator?
No. It was Mal Moore.
Mal was okay. All right. Well, I used to go by there and watch Mal show. The door would be open, and I'd be looking at Mal showing Coach Bryant some stuff out of the wishbone. It was quite a unique offense, wasn't it? And one that, you know, it really for a quarterback to really show what they can do, it's really no fun to play, is it?
Well, you know, looking back, we won. That's the main thing. We won, and you know, we played a lot of people. It's hard to keep everybody happy, but they kept a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of people happy. No, I think my senior year we threw an average of 6 times a game, and I only played. I played every play in the Auburn game, the Tennessee game, and the bowl game. That's the only 3 games that I think the whole career that I ever played every play. And but no, it wasn't. You know, as far as quarterback and building up stats and all that stuff, you'll never do that in a wishbone offense. But you know, like I said, we won, and that was the main thing.
How was it in the pros when you got around Staver? I had Staver in the basketball class, and Namath as well. You around both those guys to some extent. In fact, took Namath's place. Is anything there that you can tell our listeners about? About those 2 guys.
Oh, they were just, you know, they're great. You know, I was in there. Well, I guess with Kenny, I was kind of late in my career, and he was late in his career too. But no, it was, you know, I'd worked out with Joe in the summer. I'd known Joe since my sophomore year on. I'd run routes for him, and we'd work out in the summer and go eat and do a lot of things together, and developed a friendship with him. And Kenny, I really did. You know, Kenny I knew around the Mobile area and everything, but I knew Joe probably better than Kenny. But you know, when you came to take Joe's place, I was hoping Joe would stay there 2 or 3 more years where I could learn from him. But our team was so bad. we really were the youngest team in pro football at that time, and we were rebuilding. And you know, it was kind of a weird situation with Joe. But Joe, you know, he left after that first year and went to L.A., I guess. And then when I went down it's really harder to go down to New Orleans and be around Kenny, because Kenny was beloved by the team, and they had a pretty decent team back then. It was, you know, it was kind of hard to come in and take his place. He was just really popular and everything with the team. And then here I come in, and it was actually harder to replace Kenny, I think, than it was Joe, because our team was so bad with the Jets, and they had a good team. And Joe Snake was just beloved by the team. But it was a good experience. And
we get a lot of talk here about Tua versus the quarterback at LSU. If I'm picking one, I pick the quarterback at LSU. Barry picks Tua, my son. Because I know that I have a feeling that Joe will be there longer. That I'm afraid that Tua might not be there playing as much. You don't have to say who you like the best, but both those guys are good in their own way. But certainly the injury part is something you have to think about, I guess.
Yeah, well, in pro football, it really is. I mean, there's not much difference between, you know, a first-team quarterback and a second-team quarterback, unless, you know, you're a Brady or a Elway or somebody like that, or Marino. But the only thing, you know, I would have loved to see Tua play the whole year without being hurt, but obviously that didn't happen. And like I said, I think he's the best college player I've ever seen that didn't win the Heisman. But you got to give a kid from LSU. I mean, I remember him the year before, and he didn't seem like anything. Well, he was, you know, obviously he's a starter, so he's good, but he didn't really seem as special as he turned out to be the following year. And like I say, I think a lot of that's the team. He had great receivers. They just had a great team and built around him. But you know, you never know with the pros. The pros is, what team do you go to? If you go to a team that's pretty, you know, well established, and you can, you know, you've got a good defense to back you up and a good running game, and that's really what you're looking for. And with Tua, you gotta, you know, if you're drafting this guy, I love Tua to death. He's unbelievable. But you've got to question his durability right now, because he's kind of been banged up a couple of years in college. And I really think they take more care of him in the pros than they do than they do in college. So maybe he'll be more protected. But he's a terrific quarterback. He's got his just natural instincts and the way he prepares and the way he looks off defenses. I mean, he's good, really good.
We're talking with Richard Todd. If you were Lee Steinberg, which is to his agent, the only question now, they can watch all the tape, is his health. Would you send some live video to these top 5 or 6 teams, or would you just say, hey, you got what you got? I mean, he needs to maybe prove that he's healthy, but it only takes one team. How would you handle this if you were Lee Steinberg with Tua?
It's funny, when I was being I got a call, when I went in the first round, was nobody, let's say after the Senior Bowl, and then the word got around that I was going to be picked pretty high, I guess, or whatever. I got a call from Lee Steinberg, and I went out to California, and he picked me up in a Mercedes, and he had, cut off jeans and was barefoot.
Really?
Yeah, a long time ago, 1976, I guess. Anyway, but no, I don't. The scouting systems and I don't think you need to send anything extra. I think they've seen what Tua can do. He's been on TV. They've got the tapes. I mean, he's an exceptional player. I don't think you need to send anything else. Now, maybe during this time, and they may push the draft back and everything else. A lot of these teams are going out. When I was being 1976, I think Tampa Bay came to see me. The Jets came to see me. Denver came. They came to Tuscaloosa. So I'm sure a lot of these teams are going to Tuscaloosa, and they're asking him how he feels, and they're talking to the trainers and the doctors, and sure they're watching him work out. I'm sure he comes in the afternoon and throws every day or something. So I'm sure they're watching that. So I think they got a pretty good idea of what kind of product they got there.
Yeah, I don't think they're letting the NFL teams travel now. That's what I'm saying. Like if they could.
Oh, that's right. With the virus.
Yeah, show some video of him. How healthy is he? Just to kind of ease their mind, or do you just hey, we're going to just let keep it a secret or whatever? I don't know. I don't know how you would handle that, because it just takes one team, and you want to get drafted as high as possible to get that guaranteed NFL money. So I think it's probably a little bit tougher call than people realize.
Yeah, you're probably right. Like I said, I'm sure they have phone calls, so I'm sure phones still work. They haven't cut that off yet, so I'm sure they'll call and talk to the doctors that operate on and the trainers. And Saban, I think they trust Saban what he thinks, and I'm sure they got a lot of feedback from Coach Saban. So, but I don't see. I thought AJ would go in the first 2 rounds, and he didn't. So it's just really hard to tell. Yeah, I really did. I thought he would too. I was surprised by that, but a lot different.
Yeah, AJ was about as accurate a passer as you'll find anywhere. He just absolutely. I know you make a lot of money as a backup quarterback. I understand that, but for some reason he hadn't been able to hit the right spot with the right people, the right coach, or right something. You make a good point there.
Yeah, man, and when he has played, he's played good. I mean, he's shown what he can do. I mean, whenever I've seen him play, he comes in, he gets rid of the ball, makes the reads. He's completed a lot of passes, thrown a lot, haven't thrown that many interceptions, unlike me. But I'm sure he'll get his chance. And like you say, you can sit around for 12 years and make a lot of money being a backup.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Barry?
That's about all I got. Richard, stay safe up there. And, of course, you learn now that Dad's going to be buried. How close to him are you going to be buried? Maybe you go by and visit. You won't have to travel very far to go visit his grave. You didn't learn that.
I don't think you're going to be in a hurry to visit my grave.
Oh, there's a lot of living left to go, Wimp. Come on, Hank.
Well, I appreciate you being on, Richard. Thank you so much. Tell Johnny all of us I said hello.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.